Good evening, dear time travelers. If you, like me, love diving into the depths of history, where every breath of the past comes alive in your imagination, this tale is crafted just for you. Give it a like if you feel the chill run down your spine, subscribe to ensure you don't miss what's next, and drop a comment below to share if you've ever pictured yourself in knightly armor amidst a blizzard, as your thoughts make these stories even more vibrant. Tonight, we journey to the heart of medieval Europe, around the year 1320, when the Little Ice Age began to tighten its icy grip on the continent, turning winters into trials that tested not only the body but the soul. Imagine, as if carried by the whisper of wind through cracks in a stone wall, we are transported to a time where cold is not merely weather, but a force shaping the fates of men. From mighty lords in towering castles to humble servants keeping the flame of life alight in those stone fortresses. This story, inspired by real chronicles and testimonies, like those etched in monastic records, will unfold slowly, layer by layer, so you can feel every breath, every touch of frost, and perhaps find echoes of your own warmth in our modern world. So settle in, close your eyes, and let these words guide you through time. Picture yourself waking slowly in the half-darkness of a great castle hall, where the yellowish flicker of a single beeswax candle dances on stone walls, casting long shadows like phantoms of forgotten ancestors whispering of battles long past. The cold seeps through gaps in the massive oak doors, biting your skin like invisible teeth, piercing even the thick woolen blanket woven from the coarse yarn of sheep you herded last summer on the green meadows surrounding the fortress. You are Sir Edward, a knight in your middle years, your body hardened by years of tournaments and campaigns, yet this cold feels like an old foe returning each winter to remind you of the frailty even the strongest cannot escape. Your muscles tense under the weight of a linen tunic, damp with sweat from dreams of distant lands where the sun doesn't hide behind clouds for months, while your skin itches from the dry air, scented with the smoke of a smouldering hearth in the corner, where embers of oak logs mingle with a faint aroma of dried herbs scattered across the floor by the servants to mask the damp. The hall is vast, its vaulted ceiling lost in shadows where the candlelight cannot reach, and the air feels heavy, as if the stones themselves exhale the weight of centuries. You pull the blanket tighter, its rough texture scratching against your calloused hands, and listen to the faint crackle of the fire, a sound like brittle bones snapping underfoot, punctuated by the distant howl of wind outside, a mournful wail that seems to carry voices from the frozen moors beyond the castle walls. You rise, your bare feet meeting the icy flagstones, each step sending a shiver up your spine, as if the floor itself is a frozen river daring you to cross. The taste of last night's meal lingers faintly on your tongue. Coarse barley bread and a sip of spiced wine, its warmth long faded, leaving only the memory of cinnamon and cloves to fight the chill now settling in your bones. As you move toward the hearth, the faint clink of your chainmail, draped over a wooden stand nearby, hums like a quiet promise of duty. You are a knight, sworn to protect this land, but this morning the enemy is not a rival lord or a marauding band. It is the winter itself, creeping ever closer. Chronicles from the time, like those penned by monks in candlelit scriptoriums, speak of winters growing harsher in these years, with crops failing under frost and rivers freezing so thick that carts could cross them. The year 1320, as one scribe noted, saw a cold so fierce it stole breath from man and beast alike, turning the world to a mirror of ice. You feel that truth now, as your breath forms faint clouds in the air, each exhale a fleeting warmth lost to the vastness of the hall. You kneel by the hearth, your knees pressing into the straw-strewn floor, and coax the embers back to life, the scent of charred rising as sparks flare like tiny stars. The warmth kisses your fingertips, a fleeting comfort that reminds you of summers long past, when you rode through fields of golden wheat under a sky so blue it seemed to sing. But those memories feel distant now, as the wind outside grows louder, rattling the wooden shutters like a warning. You glance toward the narrow window, its thick, uneven glass distorting the world beyond into a blur of grey and white. The snow has begun to fall, soft at first, but with a weight that promises to bury the paths to the village below by nightfall. A voice breaks the silence, low and hesitant, from the shadows near the door. "My lord, the wood runs low," says Thomas, your young squire, his voice trembling not just from cold but from the weight of his words. His face, half lit by the candle, is pale, his eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes from knowing hunger and frost are allies against the living. Thomas, barely 16, wears a patched tunic, its edges frayed from years of use, and his hands, red and chapped, clutch a woolen cap as if it could shield him from the truth. The villagers sent word. They can spare no more logs, not with a storm coming, he adds, his breath catching as he steps closer, the floor creaking under his worn leather boots. You nod, the weight of his words settling like frost on your shoulders. The village below, huddled in the valley, depends on this castle for protection, just as you depend on them for wood, grain, and loyalty. But the winters, as the chronicles warn, are turning men inward, guarding what little they have, and the bonds of fealty are fraying like old rope. What of the stores, you ask, your voice steady, though your chest tightens at the thought of empty cellars. The memory of last winter's hunger, when the castle rationed barley porridge so thin it was more water than meal, lingers like a bitter aftertaste. Thomas hesitates, his fingers twisting the cap. "Enough for a fortnight, my lord, if we're sparing," he says, his words soft but heavy, like snow piling on a fragile roof. You can hear the unspoken fear in his pause, the knowledge that a fortnight is nothing when winter stretches for months. You rise, the chain mail clinking softly as you adjust your stance, and meet his gaze. His eyes, green as the summer fields, hold a flicker of hope, as if your presence alone could banish the cold. But you know better. Knights, for all their steel and oaths, are as mortal as the serfs who till the fields. You turn back to the hearth, the fire now a small but defiant blaze, its warmth a fleeting rebellion against the cold that presses in from all sides. The scent of smoke curls around you, sharp and acrid, mingling with the faint sweetness of the herbs underfoot, a reminder of the life this castle still holds. You think of Lady Eleanor, your wife, who sleeps in the solar above, her breath soft under layers of furs. She, too, feels the weight of this winter, though her strength lies not in swords, but in the quiet ways she keeps the household from despair. Her voice, singing old ballads to the servants' children, is a warmth no fire can match. But the cold is not the only shadow creeping closer. Whispers have reached the castle, carried by a travelling merchant last week, his cloak dusted with snow as he spoke in hushed tones by the fire. Tales of villages to the north, where the frost came early and stayed, where families burned their furniture to survive, only to perish when the wood ran out. The merchant's words, recorded in your memory as clearly as any chronicle, spoke of a winter unlike any before, one that could break even the strongest keeps. "The rivers freeze, my lord," he had said, his voice rough as gravel, "and the wolves grow bold, hunting not just deer but men." His hands, wrapped in tattered gloves, trembled as he sipped the spiced ale you offered, its warmth a small mercy against the tale he bore. You pushed the thought aside, focusing on the present, the crackle of the fire, the weight of your tunic, the faint taste of last night's wine still clinging to your palate. You are Sir Edward, and this castle is your charge, its people your responsibility. You turn to Thomas, who still stands by the door, his cap now twisted into a knot in his hands. "Rouse the men," you say, your voice calm but firm, like the strike of a hammer on cold steel. "We'll ride to the forest at dawn, storm or no storm. We need wood, and the village needs to see us act." Thomas nods, a spark of resolve in his eyes, and hurries out, the creak of the door echoing like a promise of action in the stillness. As the door closes, you stand alone by the hearth, the fire's warmth a fragile shield against the cold that seeps through the stones. You touch the hilt of your sword, its leather grip worn smooth by years of use, and feel the weight of choices yet to come. The chronicles may one day record this winter, but they will not capture the ache in your bones, the scent of smoke in the air, or the quiet fear that gnaws at the edges of your thoughts. Outside, the snow falls heavier now, a soft hiss against the window, and you wonder if this is merely the beginning, if the cold, like an unyielding foe, has more to unleash. And yet, as you stand there, the fire's glow casting your shadow across the wall. You hear a faint sound from the courtyard below, a child's laugh, bright and fleeting, cutting through the wind's mournful song. It's a reminder that life persists, even in the face of winter's wrath, and that your duty is not just to survive, but to ensure others do as well. But as you turn toward the window, a new sound reaches you, a distant horn, faint but unmistakable, carried on the wind from the valley below. A signal, perhaps, or a warning. The castle stirs, and you know this news will spread, like ripples on a frozen pond, reaching far beyond these walls. To be continued. What does that horn herald? If this tale has drawn you into the chill of 1320, share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do as Sir Edward, facing a winter that tests every oath you've sworn? Like and subscribe to join us for the next chapter, where the cold deepens and the world beyond the castle begins to shift. Did that distant horn chill your blood? If the icy grip of 1320 has you hooked, smash that like button, subscribe for the next chapter, and comment below. What would you risk to uncover the truth behind that sound? Let's plunge deeper into the frost-bitten world of Sir Edward's castle, where the snow falls heavier, the fire sputters, and a message carried on the wind threatens to unravel the fragile order of this medieval stronghold. The year is 1320, and the Little Ice Age is no longer a whisper in the chronicles, but a relentless force, clawing at the lives of knights, servants, and villagers alike. Tonight, we follow the ripples of that horn's call, as it stirs the castle and sets you, Sir Edward, on a path where every step crunches with peril and promise. The horn's echo lingers in the air, a low, mournful note that seems to weave through the snowflakes piling against the castle's outer walls. You stand frozen by the narrow window, your breath clouding the warped glass, its cold surface stinging your fingertips like a blade's edge. The great hall behind you hums with a faint crackle of the hearth, but the warmth feels distant now, swallowed by the weight of that sound. A call that could mean a lost traveller, a warning of raiders, or something far worse, as the merchant's tales of starving wolves and desperate men flicker in your mind. You pull your cloak tighter, its wool heavy with the scent of damp earth and lanolin, and feel the rough weave scrape against your neck, a reminder of the world beyond these walls, where winter has turned allies into strangers. The chronicles, like those penned by frost-bitten monks in distant abbeys, speak of such horns signalling doom, villages burned, livestock stolen, entire families vanishing into the snow. Yet, as Sir Edward, you know hesitation is a luxury you cannot afford. You stride across the hall, the flagstones icy under your boots, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the stillness, and push open the heavy oak door to the courtyard. The wind hits you like a fist, carrying the sharp tang of pine and the faint, metallic scent of snow, while flakes cling to your beard, melting into cold rivulets that trace your jaw. The courtyard is a blur of white, the stables barely visible through the storm, their thatched roofs sagging under the weight of fresh snow. You hear the restless snorts of horses, their breath steaming in the air, and the muffled voices of your men, already gathering at your command. Thomas, your squire, emerges from the shadows, his face pale as the snow, his patched cloak flapping like a tattered banner. "My lord, it came from the valley," he says, his voice cracking, not from cold but from the weight of what he's seen. A rider, alone, half dead, slumped over his horse. "He's at the gate." You nod, your heart quickening, though your face remains a mask of steel. The gatehouse looms ahead, its iron-bound doors groaning as two guards, their breath puffing in clouds, struggle to open them against the wind's resistance. The rider's horse stumbles into view, its flanks heaving, crusted with ice, and the man atop it sways, his cloak torn, blood frozen in dark patches across his chest. The sight sends a jolt through you, not just for the man's state, but for what he might carry, news that could shift the fragile balance of this winter. Bring him to the hall. You order, your voice cutting through the wind like a blade, and the guards move, their boots crunching snow, their hands clumsy in thick mittens as they lift the stranger from his saddle. Inside the hall, the fire has been stoked, its flames casting a golden glow across the stone walls, though the warmth barely reaches the edges where shadows pool like ink. The stranger is laid near the hearth, his face gaunt, his lips cracked and blue, the scent of wet leather and blood rising from his sodden clothes. You kneel beside him, the straw beneath your knees prickling through your hose, and catch the faint wheeze of his breath, each exhale a struggle against the cold that clings to him like a curse. "Speak, man," you say softly, though urgency sharpens your tone. "What brings you here?" His eyes, clouded with pain, meet yours, and his voice, hoarse as gravel, rasps. "The north, it's gone. Villages, empty. Something moves in the snow." His words falter, his hand clutching a scrap of parchment, its edges singed, as if snatched from a fire. You take the parchment, its surface rough against your calloused fingers, and unfold it carefully. The ink is smudged, but fragments of words, famine, raiders, beast, stand out, written in a hasty script that speaks of panic. The chronicles of this time, as later scholars would note, often mention such vague terrors. In the winter of 1320, fear spread faster than frost. One monk wrote, "For men saw shadows in the snow and called them demons." You feel that fear now, not as superstition but as a weight in your gut, a sense that this rider's words are a spark that could ignite chaos. You glance at Thomas, who hovers nearby, his hands trembling as he pours watered wine into a wooden cup, its faint vinegar tang mixing with the smoke in the air. "Fetch Lady Eleanor," you say to Thomas, knowing her calm presence will steady the hall. She has a way of weaving hope into despair, her voice a melody that soothes even the most frightened souls. As Thomas hurries off, his boots scuffing the floor, you turn back to the rider, offering him the cup. His hands shake as he drinks, the wine dribbling down his chin, its warmth bringing a flicker of life to his eyes. "What moves in the snow?" you ask, leaning closer, the heat of the fire warming one side of your face while the other feels the chill seeping from the walls. He coughs, a wet, rattling sound, and whispers, "Not men, not wolves, something older." His eyes dart to the shadows, as if expecting them to move. The hall grows quiet, save for the fire's crackle and the distant howl of the wind, a sound that now feels less like nature and more like a warning. You stand, the parchment still in hand, its weight heavier than stone. The guards, clustered near the door, exchange glances, their faces taut, their hands resting on the hilts of daggers, the leather grips worn smooth by years of vigilance. You know the castle cannot ignore this. Whether it's raiders, famine, or some unnamed terror, the news will spread, carried by servants' whispers, by the creak of carts to the village, by the very wind itself. You think of the chronicles again, how they speak of winters that broke not just bodies but spirits, turning neighbours into foes as hunger gnawed at loyalty. Lady Eleanor enters, her presence like a warm breeze in the cold hall. Her gown, a deep green wool, rustles softly, its hem brushing the straw, and her hair, braided tightly, gleams in the firelight. She kneels beside the rider, her hands steady as she presses a damp cloth to his forehead, its faint lavender scent cutting through the room's heaviness. "He needs rest, Edward," she says, her voice low but firm, a melody that calms the guard's restless shifting. "But his words, they'll stir the village." She meets your gaze, her eyes sharp with the knowledge that fear spreads faster than fire, and you nod, understanding that this night will not end with the rider's tale. You step toward the hearth, the fire's heat now a faint comfort against the questions piling like snowdrifts in your mind. The parchment, tucked into your belt, feels like a blade waiting to cut. Outside, the storm rages on, the wind carrying the horn's echo into the valley, where the village huddles in darkness, its thatched roofs barely holding against the frost. You know you must act, ride to the village, seek answers, or fortify the castle, but each choice feels like a step into the unknown. The rider's words, "something older," echo in your thoughts, mingling with the fire's crackle, the scent of smoke, and the cold that presses ever closer. As you turn to address the guards, a new sound pierces the night, not a horn, but a scream, sharp and human, rising from the village below. It cuts through the wind, raw and desperate, and the hall falls silent, every eye turning to you. The rider stirs, muttering feverishly, his words lost to delirium, but the parchment in your belt seems to burn against your skin. Whatever moves in the snow, it is closer now, and the castle's walls, for all their stone, feel as fragile as ice. That scream from the village, did it freeze your heart? If the icy dread of 1320 has you on edge, hit that like button, subscribe for what's coming, and comment below. Would you dare ride into the storm to face the unknown? We dive deeper into Sir Edward's frost-bound world, where the blizzard rages, the castle trembles, and a chilling scream from the valley below hints at a threat that no sword may conquer. It's 1320, and the little Ice Age tightens its grip, turning every breath into a battle. Tonight you, Sir Edward, must decide whether to lead your men into the snow or barricade the castle against a terror that grows closer with every gust of wind. The scream lingers in the air, sharp and raw, slicing through the howl of the storm like a blade through flesh. You stand in the great hall, the parchment from the rider burning against your hip, its cryptic words, famine, raiders, beast, echoing in your mind as the fire's glow flickers on the stone walls, casting shadows that seem to writhe like living things. The scent of charred oak and lavender from Lady Eleanor's cloth hangs heavy, but it's the cold that dominates, seeping through the cracks in the walls, stinging your knuckles as you grip the hilt of your sword, its leather worn smooth by years of battles that feel distant compared to this unseen foe. The guards, clustered near the door, shift uneasily, their boots scuffing the straw-strewn floor, the faint clink of their daggers a nervous rhythm against the storm's wail. Their eyes, wide with fear, look to you, Sir Edward, for a command you're not yet sure you can give. You turn to Lady Eleanor, who kneels by the wounded rider, her hands steady as she binds his wounds with strips of linen, the fabrics rough with catching the firelight. Her face, calm but taut, betrays the same question that gnaws at you. What lies beyond the castle gates? The village cannot wait, she says, her voice soft as a lullaby yet sharp with urgency, like the crack of ice underfoot. That scream. It was a woman's, Edward. They need you. Her words carry the weight of truth, stirring memories of your oath, sworn on bended knee in a sunlit chapel years ago, to protect those who till the fields and fill the castle's stores. But the rider's fevered mutterings, something older, claw at your resolve, and the chronicles, those monk-scribed tales of winters that devoured whole villages, whisper of dangers no armor can deflect. You step toward the door, the cold flagstones biting through your boots, each step a pulse in the silence, and push it open to face the courtyard. The wind roars, flinging snow into your face, its icy needles pricking your cheeks as the scent of pine and frost fills your lungs, sharp and clean, yet laced with something darker, perhaps the faint coppery tang of blood carried from the valley. The courtyard is a white void, the torches along the walls sputtering, their flames barely holding against the storm. You hear the creak of the gatehouse, where Thomas and 2 guards wrestle with the iron bolts, their grunts muffled by the wind. "My lord!" Thomas calls, his voice nearly lost, his cloak flapping like a trapped bird. The village path is buried, but the scream came from the mill. "We must go now." You hesitate, the weight of the castle behind you, its people, its warmth, its fragile safety, pulling against the duty that drives you forward. The chronicles, as you recall, speak of knights who rode into storms and never returned, their names lost to the snow. But another scream rises, fainter now, swallowed by the wind, and it stirs a fire in your chest, hotter than the hearth you left behind. Saddle the horses. You command, your voice steady, though your heart pounds like hoofbeats on frozen ground. "We ride to the mill. Thomas, you're with me. Send word to the armory. Full mail for 6 men." The guards nod, their faces pale but resolute, and scatter to their tasks, the crunch of their boots fading into the storm. You return to the hall to don your armor, the familiar weight of chainmail settling over your shoulders like an old friend. Each link clinks softly, a metallic song that drowns out the wind for a moment, its cold steel warming against your skin as you buckle the straps, their leather stiff with age. Lady Eleanor rises, her gown rustling, and hands you a small leather pouch, its contents, dried herbs and a sliver of bread, smelling faintly of time and survival. "For strength," she says, her fingers brushing yours, warm despite the chill, and her eyes hold a quiet plea. "Return to me." You nod, tucking the pouch into your belt beside the parchment, its edges now curling from the heat of your body. The stables are a chaos of snorting horses and shouting men, the air thick with the musky scent of hay and the sharp tang of sweat. Your steed, a grey destrier named Storm, paws the ground, his breath steaming in clouds that mingle with the snow. You mount, the saddle creaking under your weight, and feel the horse's warmth through the leather, a living fire against the cold that numbs your thighs. Thomas, already astride a smaller mare, clutches a torch, its flame dancing wildly, casting fleeting shadows across his young face, now set with a determination that belies his fear. The 6 guards, their mail glinting dully, form a tight line behind you, their lances tipped with frost, their breath visible in the torchlight. The gate opens with a groan, and you ride into the storm, the snow swallowing the castle behind you like a fading dream. The path to the village is a blur, the wind howling like a pack of wolves, each gust carrying the faint echo of that scream, now joined by the distant crack of breaking wood. The mill, you know, sits by the frozen river, its wool stilled by ice, its timbers groaning under the weight of winter. It's a place where villagers gather, where grain becomes bread, where life persists even in the cold. But the rider's words, "Village is empty, something older," twist in your mind, and the chronicle's warnings of famine and fear feel all too real as the snow stings your face, each flake a needle in the dark. The path descends, the horses slipping on hidden ice, their hooves crunching through drifts that reach their knees. You lean forward, the wind tearing at your cloak, its wool now heavy with snow, and catch the faint scent of smoke, not the clean burn of a hearth, but something acrid like burning thatch. Thomas raises his torch, its light barely piercing the white veil, and points to a glow in the distance, red and angry against the grey. "The mill!" he shouts, his voice nearly lost, and your heart sinks, for that glow means fire, and fire in this storm means no accident. You spur Storm forward, the horse surging through the snow, his breath hot against the cold, and the guards follow, their lances lowered, their faces grim under their helms. The mill comes into view, its roof ablaze despite the snow, flames licking the sky like a defiant scream. Shadows move in the chaos, figures running, stumbling, their cries swallowed by the wind. You draw your sword, its steel singing as it leaves the scabbard, and dismount, your boots sinking into the snow, the cold seeping through to your bones. A woman, her face smudged with soot, staggers toward you, her hands clutching a child, their clothes torn, their eyes wide with terror. "It came from the woods," she gasps, her voice breaking. "Not men, not beasts." Her words echo the rider's, and the parchment at your belt feels heavier, its secrets burning brighter than the flames before you. The guards fan out, their torches casting long shadows that dance with the fire, and Thomas stays close, his torch trembling in his grip. The mill's timbers groan, collapsing inward, and the villagers' cries grow desperate, but it's the silence beyond the flames that chills you most, a silence that feels alive, watching, waiting. You step forward, sword raised, the snow crunching underfoot, and peer into the dark woods beyond, where something moves, just out of sight. What's moving in the shadows beyond the burning mill? If the frozen dread of 1320 has you clutching your blanket, smash that like button, subscribe for the next chilling chapter, and comment below. Would you face the darkness or flee back to the castle's fleeting safety? We plunge deeper into Sir Edward's snow-choked world, where the flames of the mill light up the night but cannot banish the terror lurking just beyond sight. It's 1320, the little ice age tightening its icy claws, and as you stand before the blazing ruins, sword in hand, the woods ahead seem to breathe with a menace that no chronicle could fully capture. Tonight you, Sir Edward, must lead your men into the unknown, where the line between man, beast, and something older blurs in the frost. The mill's flames roar, their heat a fleeting slap against your face, but the cold of the snow underfoot bites deeper, seeping through your boots to numb your toes, each step sinking into drifts that crunch like brittle bones. The air reeks of burning thatch, sharp and acrid, mingling with the faint coppery tang of blood from the woman clutching her child, her words, "Not men, not beasts," echoing in your ears like a warning carved in ice. Your sword, drawn and gleaming in the firelight, feels heavy in your grip, its steel cold against your palm, the leather hilt worn smooth by years of battles that never prepared you for this. The woods beyond the mill loom dark, their pine branches sagging under snow, swaying in the wind like skeletal fingers beckoning you closer. The villagers' cries fade into whimpers, their faces smudged with soot and fear, huddling in the flickering glow, while your guards, their lances trembling, form a loose semicircle, their torches casting jagged shadows that dance with the flames. You turn to Thomas, his torch sputtering in the wind, its light barely touching the darkness ahead. His face, pale as the snow, is set with a boy's courage, but his eyes betray the terror of one who's heard too many fireside tales of things that stalk the winter. "Stay close," you say, your voice low but firm, cutting through the wind's howl like a blade through fog. The chronicles, those monk-written tomes you've read by candlelight, speak of winters like this, when famine drove men to madness and shadows took forms no priest could name. In 1320, one scribe wrote, the snow hid more than paths, it cloaked fears that walked upright. You feel that now, the weight of the parchment at your belt, its words, famine, raiders, beast, burning like a coal against your skin, urging you toward the woods. The woman, her child clinging to her tattered skirt, stammers, "It came from there," pointing a trembling finger toward the forest, where the trees stand like silent sentinels, their trunks black against the snow's eerie glow. Her voice, raw from screaming, carries the weight of loss, and you notice her hands, chapped and bleeding, clutching the child as if he's the last anchor to life. "It took my husband," she whispers, her breath clouding in the cold. "Swift, like a shadow with claws." Her words stir a memory, a tale from your youth, told by an old knight, of things that hunted in the deep winters, neither wolf nor man, but something ancient, born of hunger and frost. You push the thought aside, gripping your sword tighter, its steel a cold comfort against the unknown. "Form up," you call to the guards, their mail clinking as they tighten their ranks, their breath steaming in the torchlight. The horses, tethered near the mill, snort nervously, their hooves pawing the snow, their musky scent mixing with the smoke that curls upward, swallowed by the storm. You lead the way, your boots sinking deep, the snow's chill creeping up your legs like a thief, while the wind howls, carrying the faint snap of branches in the woods, a sound too deliberate, too close. Thomas keeps pace, his torch held high, its flame licking the air, casting fleeting glimpses of the path ahead, where tracks mar the snow. Not human, not wolf, but something broad and clawed, smudged by the falling flakes. The forest closes around you, its pines towering, their needles brushing your cloak, leaving a sharp, resinous scent that clings to your nostrils. The air grows heavier, colder, as if the woods themselves exhale frost, and the silence is broken only by the crunch of your steps and the faint creak of armor. You pause, raising a hand, and the guards halt, their torches hissing as snowflakes melt into steam. Your eyes scan the darkness, catching a glint, something reflective, like eyes, low to the ground, gone before you can focus. Your heart pounds, a dull thud against the chain mail, and you taste the bitter tang of fear, sharp as the watered wine you drank in the hall. "Spread out," you whisper, your voice barely carrying, "but stay in sight." The guards move cautiously, their lances lowered, their boots stirring the snow into clouds that swirl in the torchlight. Thomas stays at your side, his torch trembling, its light revealing more tracks, deeper now, leading into a clearing where the trees part like a wound in the forest. You step forward, the snow softer here, clinging to your boots like damp earth, and the air shifts, carrying a new scent, rotting flesh, faint but unmistakable, like a forgotten kill left to freeze. The clearing is small, ringed by pines, and in its center lies a shape, half buried in snow. A man, or what's left of him, his cloak torn, his chest ripped open, the blood frozen into black ice that glistens in the torchlight. You kneel, the snow soaking through your hose, its colder knife against your knees, and brush away the flakes to reveal his face. John the Miller, his eyes wide, frozen in terror, his mouth open as if screaming still. The guards mutter prayers, their voices low, and Thomas gasps, his torch dipping as his hands shake. You rise, your sword steady, though your mind races, the rider's words, something older, now a drumbeat in your thoughts. The chronicles speak of such deaths, of villages emptied not by famine alone, but by something that hunted in the dark, leaving only whispers and bones. This was no wolf, you say, your voice steady but hollow, and the guards gnawed, their faces pale, their torches casting shadows that seem to twist into claws. A low growl rolls through the clearing, not from one direction but all around, as if the woods themselves are alive. The wind drops, and the silence is heavier than the snow, pressing against your ears like a held breath. You raise your sword, its steel catching the torchlight, and turn slowly, searching the darkness. The guards tighten their grip on their lances, their breath quickening, and Thomas whispers, "My lord, it's here." You follow his gaze to the edge of the clearing, where the snow shifts, not from wind but from something moving beneath it, swift and deliberate, circling you like a predator sizing its prey. Your pulse races, the cold forgotten, replaced by a heat born of instinct. You shout, "To me!" and the guards close ranks, their torches flaring as they form a ring, their lances pointed outward. The growl grows louder, joined by a scraping sound, like claws on ice, and the snow erupts, a shape lunging from the dark, massive, shadowed, its eyes glinting like frost in moonlight. It's gone before you can strike, melting back into the woods, leaving only a trail of disturbed snow and a scream from one of the guards, his lance now splintered, his arm bleeding through his mail. You hold your ground, the snow crunching underfoot, the air thick with the scent of blood and pine, and realize the village's fate, and your own, hangs on what you do next. The castle is too far, the storm too fierce, and the thing in the woods is no mere beast. The parchment at your belt feels like a key, its words a map to a truth you're not yet ready to face, but the clearing is silent now, save for the guards' ragged breathing and the distant crackle of the mill's dying flames. Did that shadow in the woods make your heart stop? If the chilling terror of 1320 has you gripping your seat, slam that like button, subscribe for the next heart-pounding chapter, and comment below. Would you stand and fight or run from the thing that hunts in the snow? We plunge deeper into Sir Edward's frozen saga, where the mill's dying flames cast flickering light on a horror that defies name, and the woods pulse with a presence that feels older than the stones of the castle itself. It's 1320, the Little Ice Age a merciless foe, and as you, Sir Edward, stand in the snow-choked clearing, sword raised, the air grows thick with the beast's breath, and every choice you make could mean salvation, or doom, for the village and your men. The clearing holds its breath, the silence heavier than the snow piling around you, its icy flakes stinging your face like 1,000 tiny blades. The air reeks of blood and pine, the sharp tang of the wounded guard's arm mingling with the resinous scent of the trees, their branches creaking under the weight of frost, as if whispering secrets no man should hear. Your sword, its steel glinting in the torchlight, feels like an extension of your arm, yet its weight pulls at your shoulder, a reminder of battles fought against foes you could see. Now, the darkness beyond the clearing shifts, the snow rippling as if alive, and the low growl returns, circling, closer, a sound that vibrates in your chest like the toll of a distant bell. The guards, their lances trembling, hold their ring, their torches sputtering, casting jagged shadows that twist into claws on the snow. Thomas, at your side, clutches his torch so tightly his knuckles gleam white, his breath coming in short, panicked bursts, clouding the air with the faint vinegar tang of fear. You scan the darkness, your eyes straining to catch the glint of those frost-lit eyes again, but the woods are a wall of black, the pines standing like silent judges, their needles brushing your cloak, leaving a sticky residue that clings to your fingers. The cold seeps through your chain mail, numbing your chest, each breath a sharp ache as the air bites your lungs, tasting of snow and the faint rot from the miller's corpse at your feet. His face, frozen in terror, stares up at you, his blood black ice in the torchlight, and the woman's words, "Not men, not beasts," echo with the rider's fevered mutterings, something older, stirring a memory from a chronicle you once read by candlelight. In the winter of 1320, the frost brought shadows that hunted, leaving no trace but death. The parchment at your belt, its edges curling against your skin, feels like a key to a lock you dread to open. "Hold fast!" you shout, your voice cutting through the growl, steady despite the fear coiling in your gut. The guards tighten their formation, their boots crunching snow, their lances lowered like a hedge of steel, but the wounded guard, his arm dripping red through his mail, staggers, his torch falling, hissing as it sinks into the snow. The growl shifts, now behind you, now to the left, a sound that seems to crawl under your skin, and you turn, sword raised, catching a glimpse of movement. Massive, low to the ground, its form blurred by the storm, but its eyes burn like twin moons, unblinking, locked on you. Thomas gasps, his torch flaring as he thrusts it forward, its light revealing tracks in the snow, broad, clawed, deeper than any wolf's, leading into the trees where the darkness swallows all. You step toward the tracks, the snow soft and treacherous, clinging to your boots like wet earth, its cold a knife through your hose. The air grows heavier, the scent of rot stronger now, mingling with the pine and the faint smoke drifting from the mill's ruins, where the flames are dying, leaving only embers glowing red against the grey. "My lord, we can't stay here," Thomas whispers, his voice trembling, his torch casting his shadow long and thin, like a boy stretched by fear. "It's playing with us." You nod, knowing he's right. The beast, whatever it is, moves with purpose, not hunger, circling like a hunter who knows its prey is trapped. The chronicles spoke of such things, not as wolves but as spirits of the frost, born of winters so cruel they woke something ancient, something that fed on fear as much as flesh. "Back to the village," you command, turning toward the path, but the growl erupts into a roar, shattering the silence, and the snow explodes as the beast charges, a blur of shadow and teeth, its breath hot and rank, smelling of decay and blood. You swing your sword, its steel singing, but it meets only air as the creature veers, slamming into the wounded guard, who screams, a sound cut short as he's dragged into the dark, his torch snuffed, his lance clattering to the ground. The guards shout, their voices roar with panic, and thrust their lances blindly, their torches flaring as snow swirls like a living thing, obscuring the beast's retreat. Thomas stumbles, his torch nearly falling, and you grab his arm, feeling the tremble in his thin frame, his cloak damp with snow and sweat. "Stay together," you bellow, pulling Thomas close, your sword raised, the cold steel now warm with your grip, its weight a lifeline in the chaos. The guards rally, their faces pale, their breath steaming in the torchlight, but the clearing feels smaller, the trees closing in, their branches groaning as if alive. The beast's tracks lead into the woods, smeared with the guards' blood, a dark trail that glistens like ink in the snow. You know you cannot follow, not yet, not with the village burning and the survivors waiting, their cries faint but piercing through the storm. The woman and her child, huddled near the mill's ruins, watch you, their eyes wide, their hands clutching each other, the child's small fingers red and raw from the cold. You lead the men back toward the mill, the snow slowing your steps, each crunch a reminder of the beast's presence, its growl now a low hum in the distance, as if mocking your retreat. The mill's embers glow faintly, the air thick with the scent of charred wood and despair. The villagers, gathered in a tight knot, clutch what little they saved. Blankets, a sack of grain, a wooden doll, their faces etched with loss, their breath clouding in the cold. "Get them to the castle," you tell the guards, your voice steady but heavy, like the toll of a bell. "We'll hold the path." They nod, their mail clinking as they herd the villagers, their torches bobbing like fireflies in the storm. Thomas stays at your side, his torch steady now, his fear tempered by duty. You glance at him, seeing the boy you trained, his hands once soft, now calloused from rains and steel, and feel a pang of pride mixed with dread. The parchment at your belt, its words unreadable in the dark, seems to pulse with a truth you can't yet face. But the beast's roar echoes again, closer now, from the woods you left behind. The villagers' footsteps fade, their cries swallowed by the wind, and you stand with Thomas, sword and torch raised, the snow falling heavier, the colder weight on your shoulders heavier than your armor. But as you brace for the beast, a new sound cuts through the storm, not a growl, but a chant low and rhythmic, rising from the woods, human yet alien, like voices from a forgotten time. The beast's tracks shift in the snow, leading not away but toward the source of the chant, and you realize the danger is not just the creature, it's what calls it. That eerie chant in the woods, does it haunt your dreams? If the frozen terror of 1320 has you frozen in suspense, smash that like button, subscribe for the next bone-chilling chapter, and comment below. Would you follow the ghostly voices or stand your ground against the beast? We dive deeper into Sir Edward's frostbitten saga, where the snow buries hope, the beast's growl lingers, and a strange, rhythmic chant from the dark woods hints at secrets older than the castle's stones. It's 1320, the Little Ice Age a relentless enemy, and as you, Sir Edward, stand with young Thomas in the snow-choked night, sword drawn and heart pounding, the line between survival and sacrifice blurs, and the truth behind the terror begins to unravel. The chant pulses through the forest, low and rhythmic, like a heartbeat from the earth itself, its strange cadence weaving through the wind's howl, each note carrying a weight that presses against your chest. The snow falls heavier now, its flakes stinging your face, clinging to your beard in icy clumps, while the air reeks of pine and the lingering rot from the miller's corpse, a sharp reminder of the death that stalks these woods. Your sword, its steel glinting faintly in Thomas's torchlight, feels heavy in your hand, its leather grip warm against your chilled palm, but it's no match for the unease coiling in your gut as the chant grows louder, human yet not, like voices from a time before castles or kings. The tracks of the beast, broad and clawed, stretch into the darkness, leading toward the source of the sound, and you feel the parchment at your belt, its cryptic words, famine, raiders, beast, burning like a warning you can't yet decipher. Thomas stands beside you, his torch trembling, its flame hissing as snowflakes melt into steam, casting fleeting shadows across his face, pale and drawn, his eyes wide with a fear tempered by loyalty. His cloak, damp and heavy, flaps in the wind, its woolen scent mixing with the sharp tang of sweat and the faint smoke drifting from the mill's dying embers. "My lord, those voices," he whispers, his breath clouding in the cold, each word trembling like the torch in his hand. "They're not ours." You nod, your gaze fixed on the woods, where the pines loom like silent watchers, their branches sagging under snow, their needles brushing your shoulders, leaving a sticky resin that clings to your fingers, sharp and bitter as the fear in your throat. The chronicles, those monk-scribed tales you've pored over in the castle's dim library, whisper of such sounds, chants from forgotten folk, worshippers of old gods who lingered in the wild places, offering blood to appease the frost when winters turned cruel. In 1320, one scribe wrote, men heard songs in the snow, and those who followed never returned. You feel that pull now, the chant tugging at you like a tide, its rhythm hypnotic, urging you to follow the beast's tracks, to face what calls it. The villagers, now trudging toward the castle under the guard's protection, are a distant murmur, their torches faint specks in the storm, but the weight of their safety, and the loss of the guard dragged into the dark, anchors you to this moment. "Stay here," you tell Thomas, your voice low but firm, like the strike of a hammer on cold steel. His eyes widen, a protest forming, but you raise a hand, silencing him. "Guard the path. If I don't return, get them to the castle." His jaw tightens, his torch steadying as he nods, a boy forced into a man's resolve, and you feel a pang of guilt, knowing the danger you leave him in. You step forward, the snow crunching under your boots, its cold seeping through to your bones, each step a pulse in the silence. The chant grows clearer, words unintelligible but heavy with intent, like a prayer or a curse, and the beast's tracks deepen, smeared with blood that glistens black in the torchlight you carry, its flame a fragile shield against the dark. The woods thicken, the pines closing in, their branches scraping your chainmail, the clink of steel mingling with the chant's eerie rhythm. The air grows colder, heavier, tasting of frost and something ancient, like damp stone in a forgotten crypt. You follow the tracks, your torch casting jagged shadows, revealing glimpses of claw marks on tree trunks, deep and jagged, as if the beast tore at the forest itself. The chant shifts, now a low hum, now a rising wail, and you reach a clearing, not like the last, but smaller, ringed by stones half buried in snow, their surfaces etched with symbols that twist like vines, glowing faintly under the torch's glow, as if alive. The beast's tracks circle the stones, then vanish, as if it melted into the air, and the chant stops, leaving a silence so deep it feels like drowning. You stand frozen, your breath clouding, the torch's heat a faint kiss against your face. The stones, ancient and weathered, pulse with a presence, their carvings older than the chronicles, older than the castle, whispering of a time when men feared not just wolves but the spirits that walked with them. You touch one, its surface rough and cold, like the skin of a long-dead thing, and feel a shiver, not from the frost but from something deeper, as if the stone sees you. The parchment at your belt feels heavier, its words are key to this place, and you pull it out, its edges crumbling, the ink smudged but clearer now in the torchlight. Famine wakes the old ones, it reads, and a name, half illegible. A word from old tales, meaning fate or something darker. A twig snaps behind you, sharp as a bone breaking, and you spin, sword raised, the torch flaring. The beast is there, crouched at the clearing's edge, its form massive, shadowed, its eyes like frost-lit coals, unblinking, its breath a hot, rank cloud that smells of decay and blood. It doesn't charge, but watches, its claws digging into the snow, and you realize it's not hunting you, it's guarding this place. The chant begins again, softer, from the stones themselves, and figures emerge from the trees, cloaked in tattered furs, their faces hidden, their hands clutching staffs carved with the same symbols as the stones. They move slowly, circling the clearing, their chant a low drone that vibrates in your bones, and the beast lowers its head, as if in reverence. "Who are you?" you demand, your voice steady but echoing in the silence, your sword glinting as you point it at the nearest figure. They stop, one stepping forward, their hood falling back to reveal a woman, her face lined with age, her eyes sharp as flint, her breath clouding as she speaks. "We are the keepers," she says, her voice like the wind over ice, "and you trespass where the old ones wake." Her words carry the weight of centuries, and the beast growls, low and warning, as the chant rises again, pulling at your mind, urging you to kneel. You stand your ground, the snow crunching underfoot, the torch's flame flickering as the cold tightens its grip. The woman's eyes hold yours, and you see no fear, only certainty, as if she knows the parchment's truth better than you. The beast shifts, its claws scraping the snow, and the chant grows louder, the stones glowing brighter, their light casting shadows that twist into shapes. Men, wolves, things neither. You realize the danger is not just the beast, but what these keepers summon, and the castle, with its fragile warmth, feels a world away. Those ancient voices, do they chill your soul? If the frozen dread of 1320 has you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button, subscribe for the next heart-stopping chapter, and comment below. Would you defy the keepers or bow to their ancient power? We plunge deeper into Sir Edward's ice-bound nightmare, where the snow hides secrets older than time, the beast guards a sacred circle, and the keeper's chant weaves a truth that could shatter your world. It's 1320, the Little Ice Age a cruel master, and as you, Sir Edward, stand in the glowing stone circle, sword raised against the keeper's gaze, the air hums with a power that no chronicle could name, and the choice before you could doom or save the castle you swore to protect. The keeper's chant thrums in your bones, a low, relentless pulse that seems to rise from the snow-dusted stones, their carved symbols glowing faintly, like embers under ice, casting shadows that twist into shapes, half man, half beast, flickering in the torchlight. The air is thick with the scent of resin and decay, the sharp tang of pine mingling with the beast's rank breath, its hot, foul cloud curling around you, stinging your nostrils as you grip your sword, its steel cold but steady, the leather hilt slick with sweat despite the frost biting your knuckles. The woman, the keeper who spoke, stands before you, her flint-sharp eyes unyielding, her tattered furs rustling as she raises a staff, its carved runes matching the stones, pulsing in time with the chant. Her voice, like wind over a frozen lake, cuts through the silence. You carry the mark, knight, the words of warning. Show us. Her gaze flicks to the parchment at your belt, its weight heavier than your armor, its words. Famine wakes the old ones. Burning in your mind like a brand you hesitate, the snow crunching under your boots, its cold seeping through to your bones, each flake clinging to your cloak like a whisper of doubt. The beast, crouched at the clearing's edge, watches, its frostlit eyes unblinking, its claws digging into the snow, leaving trails of black ice where blood once flowed. The other keepers, their faces hidden under hoods, circle slowly, their staffs tapping the ground, a rhythm that matches the chant, vibrating through the earth, making the stones hum as if alive. You pull the parchment from your belt, its edges crumbling, the ink smudged but clear in the torch's glow. It reads, a name from old tales, a force of fate or doom, and below it, a warning. The hunger calls them, and blood binds them. The chronicles, those monk-scribed records you studied by candlelight, spoke of such rites, of folk who worshipped in the wilds, offering sacrifices to appease gods forgotten by the church. In 1320, one wrote, the frost woke what slept, and men paid in blood. What do you want? You demand, your voice steady but echoing in the clearing, the torch in your other hand flaring as snowflakes hiss into steam. The woman steps closer, her staff tapping once, silencing the chant, and the beast lowers its head, its growl a low rumble, as if in submission. The land starves, she says, her breath clouding, her eyes piercing yours like a blade. The famine you've seen, it's no mere winter. The old ones stir, and they demand balance. Your castle, your village, your oaths, they mean nothing to them. But you carry their mark. She points to the parchment, her finger gnarled, her skin rough as the stones, and you feel a chill, not from the cold but from the truth in her words, as if the parchment chose you, not the rider who bore it. You glance at the stones, their carvings now brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat, their light casting your shadow long and distorted, merging with the beast's. The air tastes of frost and iron, the faint tang of blood lingering from the miller's death, and you remember Thomas, left to guard the path, his torch a distant speck in the storm. The keeper's chant resumes, softer now, a murmur that pulls at your mind, urging you to kneel, to offer something. Blood, perhaps, or loyalty, to appease what they serve. You tighten your grip on your sword, its steel a cold anchor, and step back, the snow soft underfoot, clinging to your boots like damp earth. I serve my people, you say, your voice low but firm, like the toll of a bell in the castle's chapel. Not your gods. The woman's eyes narrow, and the beast stirs, its claws scraping the snow, its breath a hot, rank cloud that smells of death. The keepers tighten their circle, their staffs tapping faster, the chant rising, words unintelligible but heavy with intent, like a storm gathering strength. Then you choose war, she says, her voice a hiss, and the stones flare, their light blinding, casting the clearing into sharp relief. Every tree, every track, every claw mark etched in blood. You raise your sword, the torch's flame flickering, its heat a faint kiss against your face, and brace for what comes, knowing the castle's walls are too far, the storm too fierce, and the villager's safety hangs on this moment. A scream pierces the night, not from the clearing, but from the path where you left Thomas, sharp and raw, cutting through the chant like a blade. The beast's head snaps up, its eyes glinting, and it bounds toward the sound, leaving you alone with the keepers, their faces now visible, lined with age and hunger, their eyes gleaming with a purpose you don't understand. The woman raises her staff, pointing it at you, and the chant shifts, now a command, pulling at your will, your sword trembling in your hand as the stone's light pulses faster, like a heart racing toward collapse. You realize the beast wasn't the danger. It was a guardian, and the true threat lies in what these keepers summon, something the parchment only hinted at, something the chronicles feared to name. You turn toward the scream, the snow slowing your steps, the cold a weight heavier than your chainmail. The keeper's chant follows, a shadow at your back, and the stone's glow lingers in your eyes, burning like a vision you can't unsee. Thomas is out there, and the village, and Lady Eleanor, waiting in the castle with a hope you're not sure you can fulfill. The parchment, still clutched in your hand, feels like a chain, binding you to a truth you must face. But the scream echoes again, closer, and you know time is slipping like snow through your fingers. Can you face the ancient terror that binds the snow? If the chilling saga of 1320 has you breathless, smash that like button, subscribe for more haunting tales, and comment below. Would you sacrifice everything to save your people or surrender to the Old One's will? We plunge into the final chapter of Sir Edward's frozen Odyssey, where the keeper's chant echoes, the beast's shadow looms, and the truth behind the parchment's warning threatens to bury the castle in eternal frost. It's 1320, the Little Ice Age a merciless overlord, and as you, Sir Edward, race through the snow toward Thomas's scream, the weight of ancient gods and mortal duty collides, forcing a choice that will echo through the ages. The snow crunches under your boots, each step a battle against the cold that claws through your chainmail, numbing your limbs, the air thick with the scent of pine and blood, sharp and bitter as the scream that still rings in your ears. Thomas's voice, raw and desperate, pulling you back from the keeper's glowing circle. Your torch sputters, its flame a fragile pulse against the storm, casting jagged shadows across the pines, their branches heavy with frost, scraping your cloak like skeletal hands. The chant of the keepers lingers, a low hum that vibrates in your bones, their words. The hunger calls them, and blood binds them, etched in your mind as clearly as the parchment's ink, now crumpled in your fist, its warning a chain you can't escape. The beast's tracks, broad and clawed, weave through the snow, leading toward the path where you left Thomas, and you run, your breath clouding, each inhale a stab of icy air, tasting of frost and the faint rot of death that clings to the woods. You burst into the path, the torchlight revealing chaos. Thomas, sprawled in the snow, his cloak torn, his torch snuffed, his face pale but alive, his hands clutching a dagger, its blade streaked with blood not his own. The beast lies nearby, its massive form still, its fur matted with snow and gore, its frost-lit eyes dim, a broken lance protruding from its side. One of the guard's weapons snapped in the struggle. "My lord!" Thomas gasps, scrambling to his feet, his voice trembling, his breath steaming in the cold. "It came for me. I struck it, but the voices." He points to the woods, where the chant grows louder, no longer distant but close, as if the keepers followed, their staffs tapping the earth, their shadows flickering at the edge of your vision. You pull Thomas up, his arms shaking under your grip, the rough wool of his cloak damp with snow and sweat. The air reeks of the beast's blood, a coppery tang that mixes with the pine, and you scan the darkness, your sword raised, its steel glinting in the torch's dying light. The chronicles, those monk-scribed tales, warned of this. In 1320, the frost woke what slept, and only blood could still it. The parchment's words, the hunger calls them, pulse in your mind, and you realize the beast was no monster but a servant, bound to the keeper's will, a guardian of the old ones they summoned. The true threat lies in the chant, in the stones, in the hunger that drives this winter's wrath. The keepers emerge, their furs blending with the snow, their faces gaunt, their eyes gleaming like the stones they guard. The woman, their leader, steps forward, her staff raised, its runes glowing faintly, her voice cutting through the wind. "You've spilled sacred blood, knight. The old ones demand balance. Your blood, or your people's." Her words are a blade, and you feel the weight of the castle, of Lady Eleanor, of the villagers huddling behind stone walls, their fires dwindling, their hope pinned on you. Thomas grips his dagger, his eyes fierce despite his fear, and you know he'd fight to his last breath. But the chant grows, the snow swirling, and the air hums with a power that makes your sword tremble in your hand. You step forward, the snow soft underfoot, clinging to your boots like a plea to stay. The cold bites your face, your breath clouding, the taste of frost sharp on your tongue, but you meet the woman's gaze, your voice steady as stone. "Take me," you say, the words heavy, like the toll of a funeral bell. "Spare the village." Thomas gasps. "No, my lord." But you silence him with a look, the parchment falling from your hand, its ink smudged into the snow, its truth no longer a mystery but a bargain. The woman's eyes soften, not with mercy but with recognition, and she nods, the chant slowing, the stone's glow fading, as if the old ones listen. The keepers close in, their staffs tapping a final rhythm, and you feel a pull, not of fear but of peace, as if the frost itself embraces you. The snow falls heavier, blanketing the beast, the tracks, the blood, and you think of Lady Eleanor, her voice a distant song in the castle, of Thomas, who will carry your name forward, of the villagers who might survive this winter. The woman raises her staff, and the chant stops, the silence deafening, the cold await you no longer fight. "Balance is restored," she whispers, and the woods fade, the snow swallowing all. Centuries later, the chronicles would speak of a knight who vanished in the frost of 1320, his castle enduring, his people surviving the famine that broke so many others. They'd find no body, only a sword, half buried in snow, its hilt worn smooth by a hand that held it to the end. Today, as you sit by your warm hearth, the wind outside a faint echo of that storm, you might hear a chant in the quiet, a whisper of the old ones, and wonder, what would you give to protect those you love? And so the frost claims its due. If this tale has left you haunted, share your thoughts below. What would you have done as Sir Edward, facing the old one's bargain? Like, subscribe, and join us for more stories that pull you into the past, where every choice echoes through time.